Hey everybody, Kenny Hubbard, Razor Edge Productions, about to drop the green on another episode. Today we got Alan Vaughn. This is going to be a fun one, guys. I want to thank Mike Striegel with Outlaw Race Bodies. He's our title sponsor today. Mike's a great guy. Hit him up on Facebook. You need some body work or something, hit him up, he'll get you fixed up. Alan Vaughn, everybody. We're so excited to get to sit down with Alan. Alan's before the internet era. Not all over Facebook and stuff, and I mean, he's a legend around here, so this is exciting.
I appreciate you guys coming by to talk with me, and when Shannon talked to me the other day, I was pretty flattered that you guys wanted to come by and talk, so I'm glad you did.
We appreciate you taking the time, man.
Yeah,
so let's get into it. So you was into racing as a kid.
Yeah.
Dad drag raced, and he stopped racing though before.
Yeah, he stopped racing when I was pretty young. I think I was probably about 3 years old by the time he quit, maybe 4. And but I was his helper. I was right there. Everything he was doing, I was right in the middle of it, probably right in the road. But he drag raced an old 55 Chevy, and I've still got that car.
That's awesome.
I won the high school drags of that car my junior year in high school, and parents sat in the stands and everything. And then I started going down to Adrian Speedway when they first opened up and watching a few of those street stocks, and I thought, boy, I got to do that. And my parents weren't for it at all. They weren't supportive. And I went home after a couple of those races and told my mom, hey, I'm going to build me a street stock. And she said, well, not as long as you're living here, you're not. So I said, okay, I guess I'll move out. So I moved out and built me a street stock.
So the 22 is what you put on the side of it.
Yeah. I just wanted a double number, and thought the 2s was kind of neat. So just been black and number 22 since the start.
Since the beginning.
Yeah.
And that's all I remember of Alan Vaughn is in the black 22.
Yeah.
You always knew that. So
we always liked black cars, and it just was our deal. It's what we did.
But didn't have no rhyme or reason.
No, I didn't have any rhyme or reason for starting other than going down there and thinking it looked like a lot of fun.
Well, I think that's why most of us do.
Yeah.
It could be the riches and fame.
I don't know that ever worked out.
Yeah, it ain't yet. So, 85, you get your first street stock built.
Yeah. We ran, I don't know how many races we ran in the fall of 85. I didn't run a full season. I started after the middle of the season in 85. And we had a pretty volatile start to our racing. A lot of accidents and tearing things up, tearing other people up, and finally started getting settled down a little bit and was able to finish a race. And we finished. I think we finished second or third a couple of times, maybe only once in that first fall. But then we came back out 86 with that same car, and we really ran pretty strong. For our 87 season, we built another car. It was a pretty nice car, and didn't run a full season that year either because we didn't have the car done. But 88 is when we switched to the late models.
What made you make that switch?
They had an engine claim in the street stocks, and we got our engine claimed a couple of times. And one of them was an OK motor, and one of them was a junk motor, and got to the point to where we couldn't even build an engine that would stay together. And the claim was $500, and you couldn't even hardly buy rings and a gasket set and have your heads done for that. So we didn't want to get it modified because they had an engine claim also, so we went to late model, and that was kind of a rude awakening because then we couldn't afford an engine. So, it was quite a switch then, and as young a driver as I was, that was basically 2.5 seasons under my belt, and to get the late model, and then it was a big learning curve again because the cars were so much lighter and the brakes were so much better and they accelerated so much quicker, and I was back in trouble again.
Back knocking people around.
Yeah. So I never used the brake pedal quite enough.
So you were primarily just racing at Adrian when you started with the late model?
Yeah, Adrian, Pleasanton, and Nevada. But I think our first season with the late model, we went to, I think we went down to, I know we did to Bolivar, and raced with Esseries and Willards and Phillips, and there were several good drivers from down in that area, Rex McCroskey. There's a whole, Daryl Mooneyham, a whole lot of guys that raced down there. It was really good. And, we went down there and, we got lapped. And my mom's sitting in the stands, and she's nervous. And, I'm about to get ran over out there, and I'm in the road, and I get out of the car and I'm like, I don't mind a lap slower than them guys. So, it took a while. We won a feature our first year in late model. Actually, it was our 5th night out. And, but we didn't get another one until the following season in '89. And we won several local, and we went off to try to run a couple of MLRA shows. And I don't remember really the outcome of some of those early MLRA shows. I think we made the show on some of them, but we weren't in contention to win by any means. But I think we won our first MLRA show in 92 or 93, and that was a big leap for us.
What inspired you to make that leap? I mean, because you started finding success in the late model, and then you
Go to MLRA.
sign up to get your butt kicked.
Well, it just seemed like, sometimes, there was controversy at some of the local tracks, and I wanted to race, and I'm not taking anything away from the local racer, because those guys, us guys, all of us at the ground level are what keep this sport going. But, I wanted to go race with the best, and, the best is kind of a big word there, because you're only the best on a certain night, but there's guys that are competitive year in and year out that are good. And I wanted to race with those guys. I wanted to be as good as them or better. And, sometimes they say you're only as good as your competition.
Right.
And sometimes when the person's dominant, maybe they just need to look for a bigger pond, because there's always somebody out there that'll show you what it's about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I always like the competition, and I always liked competing. At any level, it's a lot of fun to compete, and along the way you meet a lot of good people, a lot of good track owners, a lot of good track help, a lot of good drivers, fans, sponsors. You just meet a lot of great people doing what we do.
So it's quite a change going from racing these local tracks to going out racing all these places. You've been to, where was this one at?
Wheatland.
This one was Wheatland, but you've been to Texas.
Yeah.
You've been to Colorado. You've been.
We've been to Arizona, Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. Oklahoma, Arkansas, Iowa, Nebraska. A lot of different places.
Most of the country racing.
A lot of it. And we only ventured out as much as we could afford, because you get out there and you get to racing these late models back in the day, and the tire deal was a big deal. You had to have a truckload of tires no matter where you went, because everybody's on a different tire rule, and that was pretty expensive, and the travel was expensive, and the competition was great because you were racing for big money. And if you're not winning those races or have a big sponsors behind you, you can use up all your money pretty quick. So we go out and try to compete and stay out as long as we could afford to, and when we couldn't afford to, we came back home and tried what we knew and venture out again. So
for a while, you was kind of racing for a living, wasn't you?
yeah, I did that most of my racing career. So Once I started racing, the car requires a lot of maintenance, and if you don't do that maintenance, you're not going to be able to compete at that high level. And so, back in the days where UPS was COD, we had a driver that was our driver for years, and he was almost like one of the pit crew. He'd come in and he always wanted to see what was going on. He'd have a bundle of parts, and he'd be either trying something new or repairing the car or doing something every week. And there wasn't a week that went by that he wasn't there, And we always had a big crowd around the house, a lot of friends and a lot of family and things like that participated to help me. And without all them, I would have never been able to do it. It just takes a lot from everyone, and that's kind of what started into my career too. Is I wasn't able to pay a full-time crew, and you start getting older. People either move on with their life, family and kids, and unfortunately, a lot of them's passed away, and it just changes things. So, I finally got to a point where I wasn't really ready to quit, but I thought it was time. So now we get out once a year and go down to Nevada and maybe Electric City down at Butler, do something close to home, and just do it to go down and have some fun and
just to go kind of
get
the itch and please the fans and
just go down and kick some dirt around.
Yeah, you got a lot of fans in this area.
Yeah,
so
we've been fortunate with that. I've always tried to be good with the fans and stuff because they're the ones that support the drivers in the track. And those kids that come up to you and look up to you and stuff, that's pretty flattering because I remember being a kid looking up at those guys like that and stuff, and you remember the ones that treated you good, you remember the ones that didn't. And I just always thought it was pretty cool that those kids admired the drivers,
right,
and even wanted anything to do with them. So I always try to take my time with them.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's and I think people appreciate that.
I always appreciated all the people supporting us too.
Right, up there yelling your name, and
Yeah.
it means a lot when you're going around out there.
Mm-hmm.
You tell the little kids, did you hear me yelling? I did, buddy.
Yeah,
I sure
yeah.
did. What do you say?
Yeah.
It's so inspiring to have them kids out there yelling your name.
Yeah.
So I want to back up though. So you're the only one that's won the MLRA championship 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
02, 03, and 04.
Yes.
What was that? I mean,
well, we won the first one in '95, and kind of had some off years. We were running up, I think, in '96, '97, '98, and then I think in '99 and 2000 we were really upside down. We just couldn't keep the car going. We were just having all kinds of problems, and I was about ready to quit. And then we got us a new engine together, and it was the best thing we'd had together in a while. And I told my dad, I said, I'm not getting any younger. I'm going to win this championship this year. And I said, I'm going to do whatever it took. And we started off the season, and the engine was running good, but we couldn't get the car to go around the track the way it needed to. And we borrowed a car from David Barker, and we went out and ran a first night in that car borrowed from him. We were actually paying a percentage of whatever we won with the car. And we took it up to Iowa, and we still putting that car together at the racetrack that night, and we ran, I think, 3rd. And anyway, maybe it was 5th. But anyway, we were very, very pleased with it. Came all the way back home, 6-hour drive from wherever we were at. I think it was Denison, Iowa. And we came home, got up. Hell, we didn't get home until 6 o'clock in the morning. And we're back up at 8 o'clock, washing the car and trying to get it serviced and everything to go to Lakeside for an MLRA show the next night, or that evening. And we went out there and couldn't qualify good, didn't know what really to do with the car, just being our second time out. We kind of got it figured out. We started in the back of the feature. I think we started about 17th and ran 2nd. And felt like we had us a car.
You did something right.
Yeah, so we talked to David, and we bought the car from him. He was wanting to sell it anyway. So we bought the car from him and bought us another new frame, switched his parts over onto it, and the car was really dominant. And we came from about 100 points back in '02 and won the championship that year. And won a few races with it. Almost won the first night out in that car. And we, I don't know, there for a while things were just rolling our way. And, sometimes you can be just as fast as the guy that's winning the races, you're not winning. And sometimes you're like, what in the world, and there's no rhyme or reason for it. And sometimes you win and you're like, I don't understand that either.
Right.
But,
just your night.
Yeah. So, but definitely I think, when you're prepared and got your stuff ready to go, you're ready for an opportunity, and that makes a difference.
I always say when opportunity knocks, you better have your maintenance done.
Yeah. Yep.
Because
that is exactly right.
When the time's yours,
Yep.
it's your time, and nothing will let you down but lack of work.
Yep. That's exactly right. So, yeah. So, and then '03, I always said God was looking over me and my dad. He passed away in the fall of '03, and I felt like all my wins in '03 was a gift, and that was just all the hard work that my dad put into me.
Right.
So
pushing you, inspiring you, motivating you, all that.
So.
Because he wants to see you top notch, and a lot of dads are that way.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he was proud whether we ran last or first, but he put the effort into. He wouldn't accept anything other than winning,
Right. That's what we're here to do.
Yep.
We're here to win.
So, and then '04, we won again the year after he passed away, and running these cars is a big deal. And like I said, everybody's help. Without it, it's a rough way. And in '04, I kind of felt my whole organization, my team slipping a little. And it was because a lot of the organization my dad provided wasn't there.
What he brought to the table.
Yeah. When it came down time to change something on the car, it was ultimately my decision, but a lot of times we discussed it. And there wasn't anything on the car he couldn't do. But while I might be off eating a hamburger or something else, he might be back there trailer filling grease bottles and organizing gears and shocks, and he might be siping tires and grooving tires, and all that kind of stuff is very important to success. And when you don't have that glue that sticks everything together, it's hard to
changes stuff.
Yeah, it does.
It changes stuff.
Yeah.
But you held on to it.
Yeah, we ran for a few more years, and it just started becoming harder and harder. I had a couple crew members that passed away. My dad had passed away. A couple sponsors that had passed away. Really good friends they were too, and
kind of took some of your motivation with them.
It did. And you start to get to the point. It's like, man, this isn't as fun as it used to be, and
right.
So.
And on the verge of hurt.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but it seems like that's what I feel as you're saying this. It feels like you go to the racetrack and it makes you think about these people and you hurt.
Yeah.
You don't want to hurt. Nobody wants to hurt.
No, you just got time to hang it up, and I've always missed it. I love it. I love the competition and the travel. That was one thing when I started traveling. You asked me what made me want to travel. Well, once I did it a little bit, I was, hadn't seen much or other than 50 miles from the house.
Yeah.
And you start traveling around. There's a lot of sights to see and a lot of stuff out there. It's a lot of fun, especially when you're with people that that are your friends or family.
Right.
It just makes it just a big old vacation. It seems like with a lot of work involved.
Yeah.
So.
And winning a lot of races though too.
Yeah. Like I said, we had years that wasn't so good, so, there's a lot of frustration that goes along with it too, but it just depends on how bad you want to do it.
Right. So you came back and it was for your 5th championship with MLRA, I think it was in '07?
Yeah. Yeah. Al Perkey was one of MLRA's biggest competitors. And, him and I had some seesaw years back and forth there. And I think Al had won it there a couple of years in a row. And, I can't recall, my memory starts slipping already. But there were some years where I think we were runner up to Al, and there were some years that we weren't. But, it just seemed like, I guess it's like any team or any sport, you cycle where you're up and you're down and you're up and you're down, and Al was a good competitor and a friend, and we didn't always get along, but I couldn't have been with anybody any better to compete against. We had our times where we were really good friends, so it was a lot of fun with a lot of the guys that and a lot of people that worked for the series. Mike Striegel, you said, was the sponsor for tonight. He used to be the flagman for MLRA. And, we always liked Mike. And, he had a tech inspector from down there that he's passed away now also. And we just got along with a lot of people, that ran it, and just made it a lot of fun.
Had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So when you decided to quit running MLRA, did you run full-time at all around here, or was you just kind of...
No, when I quit running MLRA, I quit altogether.
So how long was it before you decided to hit the track again?
I think it was about 6 or 7 years. I met Dawn, which is who I'm with now, and I had stories that I told her and pictures I showed her and stuff, and she hadn't been to the races or anything, so I had an old car and an old engine sitting around, and I wanted to put it together and take it out and show off for her. So, it didn't work out too bad.
So we started out not really trying to impress a woman, but that's where we ended up.
Yeah, that was a waste of what I was trying to impress when I first started. I just was looking at, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But now we were already together, and I guess the impression that I was going to give her with driving a race car wasn't going to make any difference one way or another, but I just wanted to show her what I did, and I was missing it, and it meant something to show it to her and let her, experience it.
Get a feel for that.
Yeah.
That's the Alan Vaughn experience.
Well, that was my life.
Right.
So, I just wanted her to see what it was.
Live it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wish she'd been around to travel a lot of those places. She probably would have been sick of it a long time ago.
But she got to see a lot of the country with
Yeah.
Because you guys did go to a lot of places.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think's your favorite track?
Well,
Of all these places you've been, and I know they change so much night to night. I mean,
they do.
what's a great track tonight could be trash tomorrow and vice versa.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, I'm just like any driver. I mean, your favorite track can be where you run good at.
Right.
And in the mid '90s, place I was always proud of racing at and racing good at was Monette. The Mooninghams and Ken Essery and all of them. Mooninghams had it for a while, and then Ken Essery ran it for a while. And, we just liked being around those people in that area, and loved the track, and we ran good there. And, we loved running at Adrian and Nevada and, Pleasanton. We loved all of our local tracks because that's where we started, and we knew a lot of people. I always wanted to run Lakeside Speedway more than we were able to because there was a lot of local hot dogs and people that were good racers, and I always wanted to compete with them, but we just were in different classes, and so we weren't able to race at Lakeside like I wanted to. But when MLRA would run there, we usually ran pretty good there. I mean, usually they'd have 50, 60 cars. We always ran NASCAR weekend. when NASCAR was at Speedway. And they always had a really good car count, a lot of fans. Some of the NASCAR drivers would be over, and we liked to compete out there, and it seemed like we always ran good there. And, but it's neat to run around home, like I said, for all the local people that you know, and it's really neat to travel because you get to meet new people and new places.
So, big track versus small track then? You like a bigger track? You like a lakeside versus a...
When I was younger, I liked the smaller track. And then as I got older, I liked more of a medium-sized track where you can maneuver around, have more room to race. And, the half miles, some of them were all right. I always liked Lakeside, I always liked Sedalia. And, we ran good at those tracks though. And, I've been to some half-mile tracks that, I don't know, there wasn't enough action. It seemed like, got too strung out. And, I don't know. Probably a lot of it is it's just I started off on the small tracks and probably developed the habits that still wasn't the best on some of the big tracks. So, but I liked a lot of the half miles as well. So it really kind of didn't matter. But anytime we came back to the little tracks, I always felt like, and that varied from time to time, but I felt like we were as strong on some of the small tracks as a lot of them. Probably just because that's where I started.
Right.
You hit that cushion really, really hard.
Yeah.
Had a feel for it.
Yeah. And another thing too, you've got to be aggressive on small tracks. And I think that worked out in my favor because I was aggressive.
Just from the start, just aggressive driving.
Yeah. And the aggressiveness was just a desire to win. I mean, I just wanted to win.
Right. It was me to bump you, but she was between me and winning.
Well, and a lot of the bumping, like I've said, it was inexperience when I started. I knew that. I used to watch Ron Bowen, ex-junior, and his late model, and I was going to go out and get into street stock, and I was going to drive just like him. Well, you don't get in your car the first night out and drive like Ron Bowen.
That's right.
Without catastrophic results. So, it took me a while to realize that I wasn't Ron Bowen and I had to drive the way I needed to drive.
Right.
So, it was pretty neat.
Who do you think is your favorite driver? Who do you think? I mean, who's your favorite?
Well, there's a few drivers that I always looked up to, and probably one of my first was Ron Bowen because that was one of the first races I went to when he was racing, and he was the winner, and he was on the gas and drove hard, and I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. But then as we got to traveling and going around, Ken Essery was one of my favorites. Ken's just a super great guy, and always respected him, and thought a lot of his style. And his knowledge. Billy Moyer was another one. Billy was always a clean racer and fast. And when you meet guys like that or compete against guys like that, you want to outrun them.
Right.
You want to outdo them, but that's a pretty tall order.
Well, so you started out watching Ron Bowen.
Yeah.
And then here, 2 years later, you're racing against him.
Yeah, exactly. And we won our fifth night out with his old car, and so that was a big highlight for me to be able to do that, and it was a big boost, So that kind of helped us as far as getting some sponsors and help too, because people are like, wow.
Right. I mean, when you get out there and outrun Ron Bowen, you're in your fifth race. I mean, you're that kind of cement. Say, I'm here.
Yeah.
Here I am. I'm gonna make a wave.
Yeah.
And that's what you did.
Yeah.
For a lot of years.
Well, I think we made a little bit of an impact because we had a lot of fans, and, you know, we won several races. So I felt very fortunate.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
I mean, you're a legend. So, I mean, I watched you race so much at Adrian and stuff as a kid, and you know, so it's a big deal for me to, you know, I was thinking about it today. Here I am, I'm going to go, you know, we get to go sit down and interview Alan Vaughn. That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. And I can't thank you enough for taking the time to sit down with us.
Now, I want to thank you guys for coming, because it's great to talk about it and be remembered, and you know, kind of reminisce about the old times and some of our competitors, you know, and the respect that we have for them too.
Right.
So
yeah, and there's a lot of you guys still kicking that have, you know, been an inspiration, motivation, and pillars in the dirt community.
yeah,
And that's a big deal.
yeah, it is. We hope that the next generation of drivers have that determination, and I know things are a lot more expensive, and there's a lot of odds to face that, you know, we didn't have to face back when we started.
Right.
Seen it change in 3 years, and
that's something I wanted to ask you about. Late models especially.
mhm.
Because you know, you mentioned you still get your car out a couple times a year.
Mhm.
But late models have changed so drastically. And it seems like every year
Yeah,
it's leaps and bounds what it was before.
yeah. I felt like I was probably always a little bit behind on technology, but now you know, I don't even know what they're doing. I don't go to the races much, and
Have you seen some of these 2023, 24 late model races?
just on video. I haven't been to the track and watched any of them, but you can tell that those cars, you got to be more aggressive with them than, you know, you used to be.
These guys are wheeling the heck out of them.
Yeah. So it's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive to watch them.
Yeah, yeah, it is for sure, for sure. What do you have any plans for 24?
I don't know.
I know you got the old car and the
Yeah.
old motor you put
Yeah.
together for Mama.
Well,
And,
if anybody's watching this, I need a new car and a new motor. I might be able, might be convinced to get back out for another year or two.
to get in the seat, huh?
But yeah, you know, anytime you're missing something, you need to get back after it. But I don't know if I'll get out this year or not. If I do, it'll only be a time or two. Yeah, like I said, if I had good equipment, newer stuff, I'd give it a thought about racing something bigger, you know. But so as it sits right now, you know.
So that's something else I wanted to ask you too. Watching these guys, what little bit you've seen them, you still feel like if you had the time with your car, you could get right out there and.
Well, of course, I'm the guy that thought I'd win the first night. You know, I'd probably be in for another rude awakening, but, you know, if you're determined to win, you'll figure out a way to be competitive.
Right, you get your.
Might not win, but, you know, I would like to think that I would be competitive.
Right. So that's awesome. I'm stutter stepping on my words here. I need to make sure that I've asked you what I need to ask you, and my list is on my phone here. I apologize, everybody. And things are a little different with Alan because he's not currently racing, and so it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So no really plans. Maybe Butler, maybe Nevada.
Yeah, that would be the two places we'll probably go to. If we get the car out, we'll probably go to those two tracks for sure. Like I said, I would have the desire to go to some other places I have had the last few years. It's just that, you know, we don't have any sponsors. So anything that we do to go race is out of our pocket. And, you know, even to go compete for a few nights. Because every year when we get the car out, you know, I think the last time, you know, we raced, you know, we didn't have a bunch of new tires or anything. So, you know, to buy 4 new tires, and that's just for the car, that's not a spare.
Right.
So to buy some new tires and the fuel anymore, I don't even know what the fuel's costing right now, but I know it's expensive. And, you know, so like right now, it's totally different than it was when I was racing all the time, because it seems like it's a big out-of-pocket expense just to go a couple of times. And it's hard to justify when I'm with someone before, I mean, it was my money, my car, my this, my that. Now it's, ours. And, when I go out to spend money that, might buy a new toaster or something like that, I gotta look out what I'm doing.
Nickname.
Oh, so the Wild Child nickname, that come from the announcers. And then you had another one.
Well, I had Mr. Excitement one time and Rocket Ship Vaughn, and one of my friends named me Chocolate Chip Vaughn.
I heard of a different one.
Get it on, Vaughn?
Yeah, Get It On Vaughn. Yeah, there have been several over the years. All that was from the announcers, They, when they're in the excitement of announcing something, a lot of time, they'll come up with something and
They can mix it up pretty good.
yeah. So, it's been neat having those nicknames because, it kind of tells that, they like what they're seeing.
Right.
The Wild Child, Mr. Excitement and all that stuff was pretty cool, but the Wild Child, then I thought, maybe I don't know what I'm doing here, and they think I'm out of control. But, it was pretty neat.
So, I think I heard a story about a flat tire on a hauler.
No, that was a blown engine.
Oh, it was an engine.
Yeah.
Okay, so and so I'll let you tell it. You know what I'm talking about, obviously, because we had a broke down hauler on the highway and we were at the racetrack.
Yeah. This was back when it was in 1986, and with the street stock, it was my first full season, and we were going down to Pleasanton to race, and along the way, the crankshaft broke in the diesel engine in the car hauler, and we coasted off to the side of the road, and my dad was following us with a new car, and he says, "Now what are you going to do?" And I said, "I'm going to drive this thing to the track." He says, "Oh, don't do that." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm just going to drive it down there." And he goes, "Well, you don't have any of your tools or anything." I said, "I'm going to throw them in the car." So backed the car off the truck. He was wanting to tow me with a tow strap, and I was like, "No, I'm going to drive it. I don't want to hit your new car." So anyway, we drove into the racetrack, and we passed a Pleasanton police officer first, and he just waved at us. And
Race night.
yeah, we pulled into the racetrack there and won the race that night. Got our engine claimed. So we're sitting here in Pleasanton, Kansas, with a race car with no engine, and 20 miles up the road, a car hauler broken down with
No engine.
It was quite a night.
That's great.
So
That's great. I had to ask you about that.
yeah. Oh yeah, that's the thing that I think how I got some of the nicknames, because it just seemed like if there was any possible way that I was going to race, I was going to try to do it. And I've got story after story after story about things like that. And one time we had a new Russell Baker engine, and he was in Miami, Oklahoma, and we had a little bit of bearing in our oil filter. So we pulled this motor out and take it down to Russell, and we didn't get this thing back until the day of the race. And actually it was the evening of the race, and we're in Oklahoma. We're coming back up, we drive by Pleasanton racetrack, and everybody's pulling in for hot laps, or for the start of the race. And we're going an hour home almost still to put the engine in the car. And everybody's telling me, "Oh, we can't make it, we can't make it, we can't make it." And I'm like, "Yeah, we can, let's hurry up." We put the engine in the car, didn't get to run the hot laps or the heat or anything, and started last in the feature and won. And somebody was like, "Didn't we just see you go by a couple hours ago?" And I was like, "Yeah, we was going home to put our engine in." And it was story after story about stuff like that. One time we had worked on a car all week long, and went down to Adrian, and I've been struggling a little bit. I've done some different things to the car, and fabricating and welding, and it's a big deal. Anyway, we get down there, and we went at Adrian, and it happened to be Nevada's Outlaw Night. And we didn't stick around for our money, anything, threw the car in the trailer and took off from Nevada, because we knew that they started later than Adrian. And we made it there just in time for their outlaw feature. And we started tailbacking that outlaw feature and won it too, so we won 2 features the same night.
In the same night?
Yeah. So,
wild.
yeah,
I have a
You guys,
request for a story here. Daryl Brown, one second, this is Daryl and Dan Brown,
yeah,
Potato Creek Racing.
good guys.
Yeah,
I flew out to California to drive their car one time, and anyway, they had called me. Actually, their dad had called me, and we were all friends. Like I said, we had a lot of friends out there, and their dad called me, Larry, and I was in downtown Kansas City getting some pistons for a 427 Chevy engine, and race season was over with around here, and Larry says, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm driving around downtown Kansas City." I said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Well, we want to know if you want to drive our car." I said, "When?" He goes, "Tomorrow or the next day," something like that. And I said, "Where at?" And he goes, "California." And I said, "Well, how would I get there?" And he goes, "Well, if I was you, dummy," he goes, "I'd fly." And I said, "Well, yeah, that's a pretty good idea." So he said, "Why don't you check on a plane ticket and get back with me?" And I said, "All right." So I checked on the plane ticket, went out there, and I got motion sickness on the airplane. And when I got off, I was in Bakersfield, California, on a little runway with a wrought iron fence, and Daryl and Danny and Gary Gorby and several of them was there at the airport. And I get off, they let the side door down on the airplane down onto the concrete. I come off that airplane and I've got a McDonald's sack, and I get sick into the sack and blows out the bottom of it. And they called hazmat out there to clean it up. And these guys were all laughing at me. They're like, "Oh yeah, boy, he's a driver," So yeah, it's always been something, one thing after another.
Yeah, that's great.
But really enjoyed racing with the Browns and their family, and just a great bunch of people.
okay, I've got people on here. We
got questions.
yes, we do. We have a Nicole that wanted to ask you who Booger was.
Booger,
Yes.
I don't know. I don't recall.
I'm wondering if it's her because she remembers a lot of you through her childhood watching you.
Yeah.
Then I
Did you
also,
say her name's Michelle?
Nicole.
Nicole
Brandhill.
Nicole what?
Brandhill. Bramhill.
You know what?
Bill Burton. Bill Burton.
Oh, Bill Bruton.
Bruton, excuse me.
Yeah, Nikki. Yeah.
Yep.
Nikki was Bill's and Fern's granddaughter, and she went to a lot of the races with him. And Bill was her grandfather, of course, and he owned a t-shirt company up in Hickman Mills, and may have been Ruskin Heights area. But anyway, Bill did my shirts for a lot of years. Great friend, and Bill loved me and I loved him too, and Fern and Nikki, and there's a lot of stories with those guys too. They were going to the races one night, and Nikki was riding along with her grandparents. They went over some railroad tracks and her airbag popped. And she says, "Grandma and Grandpa screamed." And I'm like, "That's funny."
We also have Bob Curbs on here about you using his car at Humboldt.
Yes, I was very fortunate. Bob and them were over at the MLRA show at Humboldt, and my car got torn up that night, and of course the points are always tight. It was one of those years where, I think it was 96, I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, points were tight, and Bob, I don't know if I asked him or if he asked me, but I ended up driving his car, never been in it, and boy, I was impressed. I started in the back of that thing, and I think I ran 5th or 6th, and to never get in his car and do that, it spoke pretty highly of his accomplishments with his team and his car, and I was always grateful for them letting me use it, and I just think Bob's an outstanding guy. So.
We have Mike Stragle talking about he always brought a jack and impact to drivers' introductions to change something. Drove Harriet crazy.
I don't know. I'm just laughing like, I don't know what he's talking about there, but like I said, I think talked earlier there, but Mike was always, likes to have fun and was always a great guy. We enjoyed the heck out of being around him.
And I think that's about it, other than you covered the racing, because somebody wanted to know if you were gonna race this year.
Yeah, well, that's something I haven't made my mind up yet, or we haven't made our mind up yet. So, you know, after doing it as many years as we did, sometimes, and like I said, the effort just for a couple races is quite a bit. It takes a lot of time away from my work, and doesn't seem like here the last few years we've had a shortage of anything to do. We've been redoing a house, and it's been in a progression for the last couple of years. And you know, I've got projects in my shop that need to advance, and so you know, it's hard to take the time off to go race. That's why I said if it was my job again, I'd be all there because I love it. But to just do it a couple of times is really tough.
It's hard to do.
Yeah. Especially, you know, when the car needs all the maintenance that it does, because I want to be prepared when I go.
Right.
You know, I don't want to go and just run around there, I call it packing the track, you know. So I like to be competitive, and if I can't be competitive, I don't like to play.
Right. Right. So what's the chances of seeing you at the track if you ain't there to race?
You know, I think about that sometimes. You know, I'd like to go support the track. It's just that, you know, there again, there's a lot of other things that we like to do. And, you know, going to the races, Dawn doesn't have the same love for it as I do. She likes it. And, you know, she likes going. But, you know, there's a lot of things that we like to do together that's different than that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we might go to a race or two, you know, when I'm not racing. One year we went to Illinois for a big, is it either Illinois or Indiana for a big Corvette show. And on the way back, I was driving along there, and, you know, I'm kind of trying to push my luck because I've already been looking at Corvettes all weekend. So I'm like, hey, what do you think about going down to Peabody and watching races there? She goes, well, I don't care if you want to, you know. So we end up at Peabody, you know, and then see some guys there that, you know, I'd raced with and different things. It's kind of neat. But I was sitting there in the stands going, well, this really stinks.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be out there.
I'm sitting in the wrong seat.
Yeah. So I don't like to go watch that much. It's hard for me to watch.
I think that's most guys that quit racing, they don't, if they're not involved with helping someone,
Yeah.
then they just don't go.
Yeah. And that's too bad too. I mean, I should make a better effort of going more because, like I said, it's all the people that you've met and known along the way. It's a lot of it. So it's hard being withdrawn from it.
Yeah. I understand that. Well, I want to ask you, so we always ask, what would you tell a new guy?
I would tell a new guy to figure out the business end of it because the sponsors are more important now than they've ever been because everything's so expensive. And I think that, you know, somebody that could get the business end of it going, it's a big deal, especially when you start getting into it. It's that way with any of it because it's expensive no matter what class you're running. It's just expensive to get there.
Right.
And so, you know, a person needs to have the sponsorship to do it. They need to know how to acquire it. But you also got to earn it. So it's kind of a hard thing because, you know, it's hard to go up, and it always was for me. Really the only way I ever acquired many of my sponsors was someone that knew me and watched my performance and liked what I did. But, you know, once you get your foot in the door and have a record to show someone, it makes it easier than somebody just going in there cold turkey and trying to get money to advertise for their company and,
Right.
you know, to sponsor a race car.
Right.
So it's a tough deal, but, you know, if it's what a person wants to do, you might not have a brand new car, you might not have You might not have a brand new pair of your favorite tennis shoes or whatever, because you might need to spend it. You know, there's a lot of times that I spent my last dollar to get to the racetrack. And, you know, sometimes that's what it's going to take to get started. But if it's something you want to do, you can do it. So the biggest deal is desire.
Will.
I do have 3 more guys that came on here, and I think they are
3 more?
3 more. I apologize.
We can do.
And I don't know if they can hear me on the microphones, but I have one fella to ask which nickname, out of all the nicknames that you have, which one is your favorite?
Oh, you know, probably Wild Child or Mr. Excitement.
Okay. And then I have another fella, David Anderson. It says, Devin is watching, and we want to know who built the best 377 that you've ever sat behind.
Well, I would say that was probably Dave Anderson. Dave, as a matter of fact, I saw him at breakfast. If David's on the other end here, I'm sorry to hear about his dad passing. Thought a lot of Dave, just Big Dave. And they own an ARI Racing Engines in Grandview. But saw Dave at breakfast here probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. And we bought his breakfast that morning. And he didn't know we did. I saw him looking around after he was getting ready to leave about the time we did. And saw him looking around, well, who bought my breakfast, you know? And so anyway, it was fun. It was fun being able to do it for him. And, you know, he helped me a lot too when I got started. And I knew little David. He was pretty young when I started, so I mean, he wasn't old enough to drive. I do know that. And his dad gave us a lot of help. And you know, I think that most everyone that helped us gave us all they felt comfortable with, or all that they could do. And you know, I always appreciated it. You know, it was like I said, without him, it just wouldn't have happened.
He said it was Carl.
Yes, Carl. Carl worked for his dad, and but I knew Dave was, you know, the one investing the money. Carl was the one out there doing a lot of the machine work and assembly and stuff like that. But once again, though, Carl and Dave were a team. So you know, it was their team helping my team, and we were all one team.
That's what matters.
You know, it was great.
I have Cody Brown. He said, tell a story about you and Dan Brown racing another car down the highway, and you passed the guy in a medium to win. Do you really want to tell this story?
Well, I'm not sure I remember it. It sounds like something I do.
I'm gonna win if it means medium.
I'd have to think about that one. It caught me off guard there. It was on the highway?
It was on the highway.
Huh.
And it's Cody Ray Brown. This is from him. And he said, Dan Brown Racing. You guys were racing each other down the highway, and you passed him in the median to win.
I don't know. I don't recall that. But like I said, it's totally something that I would do. So
In a Corvette.
Kind of sounds like it might not have been the first time.
Yeah, well, it wasn't the only time, so. I do remember one night there was a car show at Hooters in Independence, and a bunch of us was there, and we left there and we were going to go over to a bar and have something, a cocktail. So when we left, this guy was pretty competitive, and he said he was going to beat me to the next place, and I said, no, you're not. So he backs up, and I jump over the curb and go straight out on the 40 highway. I didn't go up there. So, yeah, there was a lot of instances like that, so I don't know. But, yeah, I still have those driving moments. Dawn, she has the floorboard stretched out on her side about 3 inches.
I don't think it ever goes away with the race car driver.
Hey, we're just driving.
Yeah.
We're just cruising, that's all.
But I got one to tell about Sam and Sue Help. They own Health Start Farm, and they were friends with my parents before I was even born. And after my family passed away, well, Sam and Sue were like family anyway. But after my family passed away, they were really like mom and dad. And, you know, they helped me a lot, gave me trucks and just financial help and, you know, just great people. And one night I was going down to Wheatland to race, and Sam and Sue had given me this truck, didn't have a lot of power. Sam told me he gave me that truck to keep me out of trouble. But anyway, I'm going down 13 there, and I get down to the bottom of the hill there in Osceola, and I'm heading south. And I'm headed up that long hill there on 13. And I'm looking out my driver's side mirror and just gawking around, just going up this hill about 50 miles an hour, just bored to death, just sitting there going, come on. And all of a sudden, man, this truck comes by me on the passenger side on the shoulder going about 80 miles an hour, honking the horn and just giving me hand gestures out the window and everything. I look over, it scared the hell out of me. I about wrecked the truck trying to get away from him. And it was Sam. He had a bunch of guys he was bringing to the races, and he passed me on the wrong side of the road. And I was not expecting that. And it was always something honoring out of Sam. He was a good guy to be around. Had a lot of fun with him. But yeah, there was always something on the highway. You run into somebody and somebody's gonna mess with somebody.
That's awesome. Well, I can speak for me and everybody else, Alan. We appreciate the memories.
Well, I appreciate you inquiring about them, and it's fun to remember them, and some of them I don't remember, but some of them that are brought up, I'll probably wake up in the middle of the night tonight and go,
Dreaming about it.
yeah, I remember that now.
Reliving it.
I'm glad I didn't say anything.
That's great. Well, we appreciate you guys watching, and don't forget, after 30 days, videos go over to YouTube, and we're still pretty heavy with doing this, so Shannon's tried to stay on that. All of them are recorded with another camera, so they will be on there. And
Well, I gotta say something. You know, I hadn't heard of you guys until you contacted me here a month ago, and you know, Shannon worked over the introduction for tonight, and man, I was so super impressed with your guys' work and Shannon's work. You guys are doing a great job, and I think it's really good what you're doing for everyone and the sport. And you know, I think that some of the stuff I've seen for the other drivers is top notch, and I think you guys are really doing good.
she's, I say it all the time, she's as passionate about what she's doing, making these videos, as we are about racing.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen her sit there for 3 hours battling 5-6 seconds of video.
Yeah.
And it's just, it blows my mind that she wants to do that. And
Well, I saw something today on the internet that speaks right to what you're saying about that. It shows, it was showing something for an artist or a talented person, and it's the water level's up here, and there's a mountain, and half that mountain's underneath the water, or almost all the mountain's underneath the water. And all you see is this tip, and that's all the work that goes into something before it reaches the surface.
yeah,
There's so much that goes into everything that anybody does. A lot of it's so unseen, and you just see just the tip of it.
right.
And
And I think the unseen stuff is what makes something great.
It is.
No matter what it is.
it is
If you're a racer or a videographer or a carpenter or
anything. Yeah.
when people aren't looking,
Yep.
that's when the race is won.
Yep. It sure is.
And that's a big deal, and that's a big deal to Shannon. And I want to thank some guys that helped us get here, that have supported us through this whole journey. Foxy's shop and race parts at Nevada. Foxy's a great guy.
He is a great guy.
You need any help with race car parts or, you know, whatever you need, give Foxy a call. He can help you out.
Yep.
You know, Nitro Nick.
Yep. No, Nick as well.
Nitro Nick Gibson Motorsports. Nick's a hell of a great guy. He's been on board with this, you know, since we started it. So we appreciate that. And H3 Graphics, Joe Cummings. He wraps my car. He wraps several of my friends' cars. He makes Shannon stickers. He's a great guy to work with. If you need your car wrapped, business logos, signs, banners, you know, he can do all that. Get with Joe at H3 Graphics. And Jess Folk Jr. Iowa transmission out of Iowa, Kansas. He's another great guy. We had him on the show. A lot of these guys we've had on the show, and he's a great supporter of us, and we appreciate that.
Billy Shadden.
Billy Shadden, he's been a good supporter of us, you know. And all these guys are race community people. I mean, they have that in common. And you know, Mike Street will come on with us out last week with Outlaw Bodies, and that means the world to us.
Yeah, all the people that you've just mentioned has been great competitors through generations, some of them, and always enjoyed a lot of them.
They've been great to us, and they're pillars in the dirt community.
Yeah,
you know?
they are.
It's a big deal to us to have that drive. You know, them guys being on board motivates Shanna. You know,
I remember when I started racing, the folks and Shaddens and a lot of them. You know, I look forward to racing against them because they were pillars, and you know, they were a name that you wanted to outrun them because you felt like you were doing something if you did.
right? No, I mean, them's the guys he was doing it.
Yeah.
He was outrunning them. He was doing it.
Yep.
If you was coming out 5 races in and a late model outrunning on bowling, you was getting it done.
Yep.
And carried that for many years. We got to wrap it up, guys. Thank you, Alan. I appreciate your time.
Thank you guys.
Bye, everybody.